Our next session will be taken by Dr. Bhaskar Mondal sir, his assistant professor, NIT Patna. I'm going to just the brief review of Dr. Bhaskar Mondal. Dr. Bhaskar Mondal serves as an assistant professor in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering at National Institute of Technology, Patna. He's nearly having 10 years of experience in academics and research, during which he had worked as XIM University Bhubaneswar, Odisha, India, BIT Sindri, Dhanbad, and NIT Jamshedpur. He was conferred with PhD from NIT Jamshedpur, India in 2018, followed by the MTech in Computer Science and Engineering from Kalyani Government Engineering College. He has published more than 45 research papers in quality journals and international conferences. He has delivered many expert talks on cybersecurity, machine learning, and latex. He is the member of IEEE and ACM, and also the Computer Society of India and Cryptology Research Society of India. He has served several international conferences as a session chair, advisory committee member, and technical committee member. He is guest editor of International Journal of Computers and Electrical Engineering, LCVS, and he has also reviewed articles in journals including Artificial Intelligence Review, Scientific Reports, Security and Communication Networks, Innovations in Systems and Software Engineering, ICT Express, IEEE Access, etc. His research interest includes lightweight cryptography and machine learning. And in today's session, he will deliver a lecture on the instruction detection for security, for secure cyberspace. So now once again, welcome you, sir, for the next session.
Thank you. Thank you for the nice introduction. Okay, so today I will discuss on intrusion detection systems or intrusion detection for secure cyberspace. Okay. So most of the attack or many of the attack happens in cyberspace are they are mostly starts with intrusion. Okay, and intrusion detection systems are the systems which can analyze those intrusions beforehand or before the attack happens, and the system can generate alarm for the users and network administrators. Okay, so before I start okay, sorry. So here is the outline of the lecture or discussion. And yes, today is another auspicious day. So happy Makar Shankaranti to everybody. And so from where we get the motivation of working or studying the topic intrusion detection. If you see in today's scenario, the increasing attacks on networks and IoT devices, and that attacks are everybody. If you see the trend of attack, a few days back I was doing research on trend prediction of different attacks in India. Okay, so if you see the trend, it is always going upwards, almost like vertically every year it is increasing. So the attacks are increasing every year or every day. Okay, and we need automated system. It is not possible for human being manually understand or manually detect those attacks before it happens. Okay, so if we want to mitigate those threats, those attacks, then we have to develop automated system. Okay, so one of the automated system is called intrusion detection systems. Okay, so why do you need the automated system that detects these attacks? So we need the known attacks, know about the known attacks first. So how previous attacks have been happened and all detail of them. Okay. So based on that, we can analyze the upcoming activity on the network and we can detect it. Okay, but what about the attacks that were not seen before? So, many of you may have say that okay, we may have firewalls in our network. We may have antiviruses, and they can protect us from different kind of attacks. But yeah, they can protect us up to a certain level. They can protect us mainly when the scenarios are known, when you know the detail about different kind of attacks. If you know, then firewall can be developed accordingly, and antiviruses are also can be developed accordingly, and they can work properly. But when it comes prediction, by looking at the activity of user on the network, how we can predict that this activity is going to lead a potential attack or going to do some damage to the network resources. Okay, so for that thing we need the automation, and mainly to predict. That means even if we have not seen an attack previously, what we call as 0-day attack. Okay, those situations or those attacks can also be predicted using you know intrusion detection systems. And definitely machine learning is going to be the big answer for it. Okay, because machine learnings are good in predicting future actions or future course of actions, what can happen, right? So predictive analytics we can apply. Okay, so first of all, what is intrusion? So it is just attempting to break into or misuse someone's system or someone's property. As you can see, somebody is just trying to intrude into someone else's property. The same thing happens on the computer or on the network. When a system, a computer system is connected to the network, the attacker try to take access different part of the computer system. It may be data on the computer system. It can be processor of the computer system, so that they can process their required computation on someone else's computer. Okay, so there can be break into or misuse, right? So intruders maybe from outside the network or legitimate user in the network. So I will speak on this later in detail. Okay, then intrusion can be a physical. That means physically somebody enter into the office and taken the data out or does some vandalization. It can happen in that way. It can be on the system. That means somebody takes your system and cracks the password and thefts or steals the data from the laptop or whatever, computer or mobile phone, anywhere. Or it can be remotely, remote intrusion on the network. Okay, somebody, sitting on the other end of the network, you don't know where he is, and through the using the network, he can exploit the vulnerabilities of our systems and intrude into our computer systems. Understand? So why intrusion, or why intrusion is a problem for us, or what happens? So simply speaking, if you want to say, we know the three pillars of information security, CIA, right? Confidentiality, availability, and integrity. And an intrusion can affect or can disturb any of these three property of security. Okay, it can hamper the availability by doing a DOS attack or DDoS attack. It can hamper the confidentiality by taking control of your information or by stealing the information, or it can hamper the integrity of your communication, or of the data database, by changing the data, which is stored on the systems or servers, or when it is going to be transmitted over internet. Okay, so what is the intrusion detection systems? So if you look at this image, somebody is trying to intrude to somebody else's home, and there is some sensor, and that sensor predicts that, okay, somebody is unwanted is trying to enter through the window, and it uh, rang the alarm, right? The same thing happens on the computer systems, or for network security, you can say, in the cyberspace. Okay, so it is the process of monitoring the event occurring in a computer system or network and analyzing them for sign of intrusions, right? So detect malicious activities or attacks like hacking, unauthorized access, DOS attack, virus or malware attack, and also it can be used for log the events. So I think many of you know the log of event, right? If you have ever used or installed any web server or any database server in your institute or in your workplace, you may have seen that every server by default, most of the server by default creates the log that who logs in when, through which terminal or which port, and what are the activity they does, so that log the event. And that helps, this thing helps also for forensics and security auditing, as a added advantage of having an intrusion detection system. So it identifies the attacks on network devices and classify the type of the attacks. It identifies the malicious packet on the network and classify type of attack. Right? So the landscape, it can be defined as a tool, method, and resource to help identify, access, and report unauthorized or unapproved network activity. Right? Yeah, so this is what I was telling you, the insider and outsider, right? So the intruder can be of two type. They can be outsider, that outsider in the sense he is not part or not an employee or not belongs to a particular organization. So if we think about our own organization, our, say, our institute, right? Every stakeholder who comes and uses the resources of the institute are insider. Okay, and whoever not enrolled to our institute or not a stakeholder of our institute are outsider. Okay, so one attacker who is trying to attack our institute servers or say our systems in the lab, okay, remotely, they are definitely the outsider. Okay, they are external intruders. But it can happen that we have some employees, some stakeholders who are not much, do not care about the security policy of our organization. Okay, and they can, help the outsider to intrude into the system or inside network, or they can take the data out and sell it outside, disclose it outside for their personal benefits, right? So all these kind of things are called internal intruders. Okay, so what are the different ways of doing intrusion or intrude, in the cyberspace? So there are different attacks basically. Okay, so the attacker launch different kind of attacks to intrude in the system. So like buffer overflow attack, scanning attack, man in the middle attack, denial of service attack, denial of service attack, distributed denial of service attack, right? Then backdoor attack, injection attack, cross-site scripting attacks, and password attack. And there is many more. This list is never-ending list. Mm, so once I had given a simple assignment to my students to list down different kind of attacks. Okay, and they had listed almost more than 100 attacks. So okay, let's see. First one is port scanning attack. So this is very important and very, you can say, popular kind of attack. What happens in with the general users or even the expert users who are maintaining the servers in the organization, companies, enterprises, the system administrators, they also forget to close different port of the server. Even we are using our system. Have we ever thought about what are the ports of our system are open? We never thinks about it, and they remains open. If it is open, no, the port can be opened due to different reasons. Okay, so we have ran some application, and that application had opened the port and didn't closed it. Okay, so there can be many reasons to get some port opened on the system. Okay, so it is very important to keep track on the port, so either the ports are open, and even the ports are open, what are the services are available on the port. Okay, so if on some port FTP is available and that port is open, so it can happen that some attacker intrude through that port, and using FTP they can download all the data from the system or the server. Okay, so there is a different way I can show you what happens. Port is open. If when the attacker is trying to check that whether port is open, then what happens in that situation? Simply they ping or they send a sync flag to the server. Okay, server is the target. Here this client is say attacker. If the port is open, that port will reply back the sync plus some acknowledgement. Yes, I have received your synchronization request, so, and it will set it send a reply back, and then okay, it is open, so they can reset the connection for the time being. Okay, so this is the thing happens if the port is open. If it is closed, if some client request some with some sync flag to the server, it will simply reply with RST. That means by this the client or the attacker will understand that okay, this port is closed. Okay, so immediately they will not waste time to launch some attack through that particular port. Understand? Yeah. Then port is filtered. That means the port is open, but there is some filter or some inbound and outbound rules are applied or written on the port, so that all the requests or anybody should not be able to access through the port. Okay, so in that case, some ICMP error message will come to the client, and the client will understand, okay, there is a port open, but it have filter, so I can't use this port for launching an attack. Okay. Next is buffer overflow is another way. So what happens into this? So one of the way of doing this is, when the program is executing and at the runtime, when the program needs some user input, okay, the attacker or the user can send a huge, long input, okay, long string of input, which will overflow the buffer. Here, where this buffer reside, it can reside in the main memory of the computer, or even in the, the processor, inside processor cache memory. It can be okay. Now, what happens when that attacker sends a huge amount of data as input? This memory, memory where this input is going to be stored fast and some operation is going to happen onto it, that goes overflowed. Okay, like in C language, you have seen array overflow, array out of bound, right? So the same thing happens here. Okay, and immediately either this program crashes, or if there is some error, exception handling or something, it can be redirected to that. Okay, so it basically, by hampering this process, the attacker gets a chance to intrude or send some malicious code what he wants to run on the system and launch an attack. Okay, like you can say the attacker gets command execution on the target. So some commands say attacker is having and he wants to execute those command on the system, so it can happen. Understand? Then is scanning attack. It is mainly IP address scanning. So the attacker over the internet targets a particular private network to scan that how many active IP addresses are there. Okay, and then they choose that okay which IP address can be a soft target, soft target for launching an attack. Okay, so this is another way. Then many times you may have heard about this attack, that is denial of service or distributed denial of service. So what happens if you look at this? This is a simply denial of service, not a distributed denial of service, because this, you can see this attacker is having only one boot. This boot means it is simply a computer system which is controlled by this attacker. Okay, so it is called as bot. This bot, we can think it like it behaves like a robot, and that robot is controlled by the attacker, so it is called bot. Okay, so botnet you may have heard about. So if there is multiple bots, we call it botnet. Okay, so this bot, what does it, generates huge number of requests, DNS request, okay, to the server. Okay, so all this request comes or targets to a particular victim, and what happens due to this victim does not able to or becomes unable to access legitimate services on the network. Okay, because this victim becomes busy to resolve all these DNS requests coming from the bot. Okay, so here you can see this is a botnet. Okay, the attacker is having multiple bots, right? So, and this is we will call distributed DOS attack, because this attack is launched from a multiple location. Multiple bots are sending say HTTP request to a target victim. So that can be a web server. Okay, this victim can be a web server. Okay, so this web server starts getting a huge number of millions of requests from these bots. Okay, and due to that, this server becomes busy to serve to these requests, and so there is a legitimate user, some legitimate user who wants to access this web server. As web server is busy with this request, okay, so it becomes unable to serve this legitimate user. Understand? So this is what is distributed HTTP flooding. So there is different kind of flooding. Okay, so you may have heard about flooding attacks. So here you can see this is UDP flooding. So the requests are for UDP packets. They are using UDP packets. Okay, so the router becomes busy to to resolve all these requests or process all these requests, and the legitimate traffic from a legal or legitimate user who have the real right to access the network, he does not get a chance to access it. Okay, so then here is TCP flooding. The same thing happens. They send too many TCP requests which becomes flooded, which flooded the memory of the capacity of the server. Okay, so what happens? The legitimate client becomes unable to access the particular server or services. Okay, then there is clickjacking. This is something happens with many of the people, that is quite common. Okay, like the attacker sends some gift card or some link. You may have also received SMSs, or they're even, sometimes you may call them as phishing. Okay. But they're mainly, if it is happens online on the website, there is a little difference. Okay, if it happens through a link sent to your email or any of the messenger application or SMS, then it calls phishing. But when you visit a website and you find that there is some offer, okay, so here you can see a gift card. Okay, so like this, some offer is there and somebody clicks on it. What happens? Actually, there is some malicious code written behind this gift card button. Okay, and if on that website all your financial data like credit card detail and pin, all these things are available, it can be, initiate this click. What click we do on such cases, it can initiate some financial transaction from our account to the attacker's account. Okay, and here you can see the very popular ransomware attack. So what happens in that? The attacker sends a phishing mail. So I have just told you what is phishing. Phishing are nothing but, attacker will send you a message. That message can come through email, SMS, WhatsApp, or Facebook, or any other messenger. Okay, it come through any other media or messenger app you have. Okay, and that will, write something like, provoking to click on a link, and that link will be there in the message. Okay, that link is a part of the message. When it clicks on that, that link takes the user to a particular website. Okay, and that particular website is actually launched or controlled by the attacker. Okay, this attacker basically controls this particular website. Okay, and it is having some malware. Okay, so what happens when the user visits this particular website? This malware gets downloaded to the system or get installed to the user systems. Okay, if I am clicking on the link what I have received from an attacker in my, say, SMS or email, if I click on that, some malware can be downloaded on my system or on my mobile phone. Okay, so what will happen? That malware is actually a console. We all know about remote access, remote desktop. Many of we have used remote desktop, right? So it is an illegal remote desktop, or it gives the attacker to access your desktop remotely illegally without your permission. That means without the owner's permission. Okay, so the attacker gets command and control communication with the, system or victim system, and they send a public key to the victim systems. What happens with this public key? Why? Using this public key, they start encrypting the files on the victim system. Okay, and basically they encrypts all those file, whatever is there on the victim system at all, and also gives a message that you have to do this payment, or you have to transfer this amount of money or bitcoins or cryptocurrency if you want to get the password to decrypt it. Understand? So that happens. So the Bitcoin, they usually ask for Bitcoin because Bitcoins are non-traceable. Traceable. It is not possible that possible to check who had purchased it and who is using it. Okay, because if I purchase and if I give my, Bitcoin wallet address to you, it is yours. Okay, and there is no system to track it, that who had purchased it and who is using it currently. So there is no system of tracking it. Okay, so they like to take Bitcoin as a, payment, or you can say, mm, extortion. Okay, so they take that, and using private key later they again decrypt those files and gives back to the user, a victim. Okay. Then there is another kind of attack that is called man in the middle. What happens? So when a user access some web application, it can be some website or some other kind of application, whatever. Okay, the user thinks that he is using the real connection. That means the secure connection, and there is no interruption. Nobody is listening, or nobody is noticing that what communication is happening. But there can be some attacker who can establish a new connection between the user and the web application. A new connection can be established, and this old connection can be disconnected. Okay, and this man in the middle can start intercepting all the communication what is happening. Okay, and even they can modify, they can change the communication data, or anything they can do based on their purpose. Okay, then there is injection attack. In this case, what happens? The attackers the attackers inject some malicious code on some website. Okay, on legitimate website, say some legitimate, some good website, what we usually frequently visit, and we trust on them, like some e-commerce website it can be, right? So what happens, the attacker puts some malicious code on the website, and that website is definitely legitimate website, okay, what is trusted by the user. And when the victim, when the user next time visits that website and enters any data to it, okay, that malicious code sends the copy of the data to the attacker. Okay, so this is another way. Then there is another thing called cross-site scripting. What happens in this? The attacker injects some malicious script on the server. Okay, some malicious script on the server, and when the victim using some device try to access the server for the different services, it can be some web service. Okay, the server sends that malicious code to the user system. Okay, and what happens after that? That malicious code starts sending all the information, whatever is there on the victim's computer. Okay, whatever is there on the victim's computer to the attacker. Okay, so this is what happens in case of cross-site scripting. Okay, and Trojan horse, the most common kind of malware we all heard about. So what happens in that? We used to have a legitimate program, which is kind of some application program, and again something like very commonly used program, like PDF converter, PDF to Word converter, PDF joiner, PDF splitter, small image editing softwares. It can be anything, right? So what happens with these commonly used software? The attacker generates a Trojan program. That means it is a malicious code, or it is some kind of virus. Okay, and using a wrapper tool, they put these two things together. Okay, and creates the single packet. Okay, and gives the same name of the legitimate program. So if you ask me to give a wrapper, many of we have seen, I can give you. That is, if you download Acrobat Reader, okay, if you download Acrobat Reader online, you will see, by default, Acrobat Reader installer downloads the installer of a antivirus. Okay, and if you carelessly install Acrobat Reader, it will install Acrobat Reader as well as that antivirus. Okay, but definitely, as this is a legitimate one and trusted by everybody, So there is option. If you are careful about, at the time of installation of program, you can exclude the installation of the antivirus. Okay, so that is what called wrapper. Okay, okay. So this wrap installation program goes to the end user, and when that user try to install this software, okay, they get installed both the thing, huh? That small software or application software as well as the Trojan program or the virus, okay, and get infected. Okay, so I have told lots about different ways of intrude on the cyberspace. Now let's see what is intrusion and intrusion detection and prevention systems. Okay, so for prevention, for detection, you need test, right? By doing test, we can detect what is it, right? But if we want to prevent, then we need immunity, right? So you can understand they are quite, you know, there is a thin line between them. Okay, who can test? You don't say or don't think that he can also, you know, prevent it. So we need to develop two modules. One is detection module. On detection module, if detects something, it will tell the prevention module to prevent it. Then it is going to be prevented. Okay. So if both the properties are there, both the modules are there in the system, then we call it detection and prevention system. Okay. So what the detection and prevention system does, it can identify suspicious activity, it can log the security events, attempt to block intrusions or limit damage on the cyberspace and inside the network, and report some intrusion attempts. Okay, so these things are usually done by the prevention system. Okay, so there is a different kind of intrusion detection systems based on different approaches. So first is based on the implementation, we can classify it in three classes. First one is host-based intrusion detection system, network-based, and hybrid intrusion detection systems. So based on, you can say, its position, in the network where the intrusion detection system is kept, based on that we can classify it. Okay, so here if you see this network, we have different clients inside the network, right? Here is the internet or outside world web, right? Through a router, then we have a firewall, and after that there is switch, and using this inside our lab, okay, we are sitting with our systems. Now it can happen that these systems are having individual standalone intrusion detection systems, right? So if this is the situation, then we will call it as host-based intrusion detection system deployment. Okay. Another thing can happen that somebody says, okay, why to put this intrusion detection system on every host, because it is consuming power processing speed for the same reason on every host. Better we put it here, right? We do it. So we put it here. After firewall, we put it the intrusion detection system. Then we have the network, our internal network, right? So this is called network-based intrusion detection system. So here what is happening? The network itself is getting a intrusion detection system. Understand? So if you look what happens if you have a network ideas, network based ideas. It can do the network traffic processing. That means the traffic, what is coming outside to the network, is internal network. It can capture each of them and analyze that whether they are malicious packets or traffic or not. Okay, then they can report the threats. Okay, then it can happen, the anomaly detection can happen. That means there is some kind of you know mm, anomalous packets or traffic is coming from the outside of the network, right? So this can happen. Then signature matching is another way of doing it. Then it can be based on threat classification, and prevention system can be there with it. Okay, so next is hybrid intrusion detection system. If you see here, our hosts are also having intrusion detection system, and the network is also having here a network intrusion detection system. Okay, and you can see here, from here basically, our property or our network property starts. Okay, we have our router in our organizations, then we have firewalls, right? And there is many organization who creates DMZ, demilitarized zone. So what is this? It is a area on the network who whose both side is having, internal side and external side is having one firewall. So what happens, what is the benefit of this? Whatever systems servers we will keep in this region, they will be protected by external firewall if the attacker is attacking from the outside, and it will be protected from the internal attackers by this internal firewall if the attacker is inside the organization. Understand? At the same time, we have a network intrusion detection system which collects data from the network from the both side of the DMJ. Okay, so here in this you can see both kind of intrusion detection system is used in the same network. So we call it a hybrid intrusion detection system deployment. Okay, then based on approach and how we are detecting, based on that we can classify it again into three types. Okay, so first one is signature based intrusion detection system. Next is anomaly based intrusion detection system, and stateful protocol analysis. Okay, so first let's look at the approach, overall how it looks like. See, we can have host sniffer we are calling it. Reason is so this is the network. Here is network. Traffic is coming from the network to the host. Here in this case, traffic is coming from the network to internet network. Okay, so it can be host based. Host sniffer means this is a host based system. It's IDS, and this is a network based intrusion detection system. Okay, so sniffer, why we are calling it a sniffer? Because it sniffs, it copies the packets what is coming from the outside. Okay, so we call it a sniffer, or sometimes you will find it is written as a sensor. Okay, so it collects. If it is host based system, if it is then it collect from the host. If it is network based system, it collect from the network and send for the pre-processing. Okay, after pre-processing there is some detection technique. Okay, it can be any kind of detection technique. We have seen all these three kind of detection techniques are there. It can be one of these. Okay, and then if it detects some attack, then it send that message to alert manager. alert manager decides that whether to ring a bell, whether to report it to the response manager, okay, or whether to display it on the GUI console, okay, based on the severity of the detection, okay. So based on that, alert manager decides and takes action. Understand? So this is the overall thing, okay. Now look at the signature based intrusion detection system. What happens in this case? You can see we have traffic collectors. So what is this? Again, the sniffer, right? It sniffs packets, collects packets from critical files, network traffic, and log files. Okay, so from everywhere it collects the information, and we have a signature database of attacks. Okay, because the different attacks are having different pattern of packets. Okay, so those patterns are put or collected into a database and kept here. Okay, and each of the traffic packet is going to be matched with the database. Okay, and if this packet or this traffic packet what is collected by this collector is matches with any of this in the database, any of the signature in the database, it called a match, and if it matches, it will ring the bell or it will alert you, right? And if it misses, then no issue, it is a mismatch and it is going to be allowed to enter into the network and system, right? And accordingly it generates a report. Okay, which packet is mismatched, which packet is matched, and no alarm was ranked, and all these things is going to be generate a report based on that. Okay, so this is the thing happens if we are using a signature based intrusion detection system. Okay, so this signature based intrusion detection system is focused on searching for a signature pattern or a known identity of an intrusion or specific intrusion event in a database. So I have already told you. So what is important here? Getting or keeping the database updated all the time, which is a very difficult task, right? Because think about a situation that some attack just happened somewhere else in the world, okay, and that attack maybe tomorrow is going to happen on my system or in my network, and in my network is having a signature based intrusion detection system, and still now my database is not updated with that previous attack happened already happened one day back. Okay, so I am still vulnerable to that attack, right? So it needs regular update of what signature or identities are common at the moment to ensure its database of intruders is correct, right? So this means signature-based intrusion detection system is only as good as how up to date its database is at a given moment. Understand? So what are the advantages of signature-based intrusion detection systems? So it is very simple to implement. The first advantage, it is lightweight, low false positive rate. The reason is that if it matches, then only it ranks the alarm or it reports intrusion. So definitely false positive rate is going to be reduced due to that reason. Okay, high true positive rate for known attacks. Yeah, definitely. If the known attacks are going to happen, it will definitely going to have a high true positive rate. But if it is unknown attacks, then it is going to give you false positive, right? Sorry, mm, uh, it is going to give you mm, false negative. Yeah, it is going to give you false negative for unknown attacks. Then disadvantage is low detection rate for zero-day attacks. Zero-day attacks means I have already told you that unknown attacks. This attack was not been reported previously. Okay. Then the challenges are like packet analysis is a major bottleneck for it. because how fast can the signature string matching can be done? Again, the searching, right? You got the signature string out of a packet which is sniffed by the intrusion detection system. This packet need to be this signature of this new snip packet need to be matched with the database. So you need to match one by one in the database. So it is a time consuming things, and search algorithm, the complexity of the use search algorithm is going to be applied here. Okay, then whether we are going to take exact string matching or approximate string matching. So that is again, you can say, fight among the security expert, that what kind of security matching, sorry, signature matching, or how much match we will call as match, right? If the signature and the snip packet is matching for 90%, will we say, okay, this is this is going to be a malicious packet? So it matters, right? Next comes anomaly based intrusion detection system. So anomaly based intrusion detection systems looks for the kind of unknown attacks. So you can understand. So this was the problem with the signature based intrusion detection system. But in the case of anomaly based, it focuses on, or it looks for the kinds of unknown attacks. Okay. Then what kind of techniques used here? Statistical techniques, cognitive or knowledge based techniques, then data mining techniques, machine learning or soft computing based techniques, and uh, user intention identification techniques, right? So you can see the many of the AI and machine learning parts are there, right? So this is part of AI. This is part of AI. Okay. The data mining is, you can say data mining and machine learning are quite related things, right? So basically, anomaly based intrusion detection systems works based on AI or ML or deep learning or machine learning or deep learning systems. Okay. So what happens? You look at this. What is the benefit when you use machine learning or deep learning techniques in the intrusion detection system? It becomes able to do the attack detection, definitely. It can do prediction also. Understand? Still now, we was thinking that uh, when when we can detect so COVID, we say somebody is get detected as COVID positive, right? Detected positive means what? First he was infected, then go for the test and detected positive. So still now the detection was like that. Attack happened, our intrusion detection system detected it and reported it. Okay, you are under attack. Understand? Now, when you are using machine learning and deep learning, it can predict by looking at the network activity, packet and traffics. It can rang the bell. It can generate an alert before the attacks happens. Okay, by predicting it. Understand? And definitely it classifies the normal traffic as well. Okay, then stateful protocol analysis based intrusion detection system. So what happens into this? You know, when network communication happens, every communication uses some protocol, right? TCP, UDP, FTP, whatever. Okay, HTTP, any protocol, it must have some protocol, right? And if we know that, by looking at the packet, we can understand which protocol is used to generate this packet. Okay, so that is possible. And every protocol is having its own pattern. Okay, we call this as state. Okay, statefulness of every protocol is having a statefulness. Okay, and that is reflected into the packets generated by using any particular protocol. Understand? Like if you think, when that some TCP connection establishes, initially there will be no such payload in the packets, TCP packets, right? Because this sends only messages like synchronize, then acknowledgement, then some active messages, and this three-way handshaking happens, right? So there is steps, but if sometimes your system finds that it is an acknowledgement packet, but it is having a big payload, so it violates the state, because most of the cases the acknowledgement packets on the network should not carry payload. Payload means extra data, right? So based on that, the stateful protocol analysis based intrusion detection techniques works. Okay, so what happens? We have the monitored environment, that is, it can be our network. Okay, so from where the packets are collected and sent to the detector, and we have a detector which uses stateful protocol analysis. And the protocol database is here. We have a database where the protocol states are stored for each protocol. Okay. Now, when the detector finds that some packet is not matching with this protocol database, okay, expected protocol behavior. When it finds that some packet is doing unexpected behavior, then it generates an alert. Otherwise, it does not take any action. Let the packet pass. Understand? So this is another type. Okay. So there is again three types of intrusion detection system architecture. So previously this was a different approach of developing a system, and it is architecture. So there can be again three: centralized architecture, we can have decentralized architecture, and we can have distributed architecture. So what happens in centralized architectures? In centralized architectures, monitors are again the sensors, okay, or sniffers, right? We have sniffers in different places. So these sniffers are, uh, on host, okay? They are on host, and say these sniffers are placed on network, okay? And all these monitors or sniffers collects data or collects the traffic and sends to some centralized analyzer, and it analyzes and says that whether it is harmful or not. Correct? So mm, in this centralized analysis, basically you need a centralized server for analysis or system for analysis, which is computationally very strong. It should have enough resource to handle this much huge amount of data coming from different monitors. Understand? Then if we don't have, or if we have a very big network and huge number of monitors, and only one analyzer is not able to give the expected throughput, okay, expected throughput within time, then we can go for decentralized. Okay, make group of some monitors and give them analyzer, okay, and another group of monitors give them another monitor, another analyzer, okay, and all these analyzers later in a hierarchy will give their analysis result to their higher to another analyzer which is in the higher level. Okay, so this is another way. And there is distributed. In distributed, what happens? Every monitor is having its analyzer with it. Okay, and most importantly, you can see here all the monitor and analyzer exchange messages among them. Why? Because say this monitor have detected a data, detected an attack, right? And this attack still now not happened to on the systems which are monitored by this. Okay, so what happens? this monitor can communicate with these other monitors and give, and give mm, the masses in advance that this kind of attacks is happening in our network, and you be careful. Okay, so again, okay, so this is the thing happens. Different approaches or different kind of architecture for deploying intrusion detection systems. Okay. Next, yeah, here is a small work by by one of my collaborator. So what happened in this? This is a very small work conference paper we had. Okay, so we had collected a data set. Definitely, it is collected data set from Kaggle. Okay, so the data set is a network log collection from network transmitting data from node MCU with ESP. These are Wi-Fi modules basically to a server. Okay, so there was some Wi-Fi modules, and there is a centralized server. So the communication among those devices was basically collected and generated the data set. Okay, then the data was captured from the ultrasonic server with Adreno and the node MCU used to monitor the network. And the dataset was consists of, you can see, 477,426 odd packets. Okay, and it had 13 features and 6 different classes. So we had taken the data set for doing this small experiment. First of all, if you look at the heat map of these features, okay, which was available in the data set, you can see. So why do we need heat maps? Basically, heat maps says us that which features are quite similar or highly similar. If two features are highly similar, the correlation will be also high. If you see the diagonal is 1, 1, 1, right? All ones. Reason is that normally normality and normality. So same feature we're comparing. So definitely correlation will be 1. So in the way here you can see, 0.99, 0.98. So these are the different correlation among the features. Okay. So why I had done this? Because based on this, the similar uh, features we was just excluded from the analysis. Okay. So how that analysis was happened? So we had the data collection of the collected data. We had go through data pre-processing, then feature selection, right? We splitted the data into training set and test set, like 75% data in this side and 25% data in this side. Then we had used different classification algorithm, okay, to develop machine learning based intrusion detection system. Okay, and using test data, we measured the accuracy and all. Okay, it was detecting intrusion and normal traffic, whether it is an intrusion or whether it is a normal traffic. If it is intrusion, it is giving you it will give you alert, and that alert can go to the network administrator, or if there is some monitor to receive it, it will go to there. Okay, so we had used logistic regression classification algorithm, K nearest neighbor, KNN classifier, decision tree classifier, random forest classifier, Gaussian naive Bayes classifier, ADA boost classifier, gradient boosting, and linear discriminant analysis. Okay, so after doing this, we have this result. If you see this red line, okay, red line is showing accuracy. So you can see accuracy of two algorithm was just overlapped. One is sorry, not accuracy, accuracy and recall of these two. No, accuracy and recall. These two things for all the algorithms was overlapping. But if you see the log loss, this green line, and this green line gives you precision. Okay, this green line is, okay. So log loss and precision you can see here, and the F1 score you can see with this, it is almost going with the recall and accuracy line. Okay, so this was the roughly the analysis part or performance of different algorithm on the data set. Okay, so I'm just not going to discuss the other result of this. Okay, now what are the challenges of developing intrusion detection systems? Challenges are like there will be many hardware platforms. Okay, so you have to do either embedded programming or some you have to develop new hardware for intrusion detection system. Okay, because software based intrusion detection systems are become slower. Okay, and it becomes complex also. So and hardware based platforms are mostly paid for by the customers, or you can say by the users. Okay, then operating system, what operating system is used on the host, that matters. Okay, deployment, how you are deploying the intrusion detection system in the network, that is a big issue, and different deployment may give different kind of result. Throughput, okay, because as throughput of network intrusion detection system, if you put, so this is your internet, and here we have our network intrusion, sorry, network intrusion detection system, and it is going to serve our internal network, then this can become a bottleneck if it does not having a good throughput or processing power, right? Because it is taking each packet and releasing allowing those packets so to the internal network, so it becomes a log gate or a kind of filter, right? Then completeness, space of the vulnerability and attacks that can be covered by the intrusion detection system. Okay. Next comes latency. This is another important thing. So what happens if you see the attack is initiated as at time t, okay, and the detection time. So the for detection, whatever system you are using, it will take some time to detect the attack. So this is the detection time, and once it is detected, then it is going to call the prevention, the response mechanism. So for that also it will take some time, right? So this is called response time. So this is going to be your total delay once the attack is already launched on the system. Okay, so if this delay is very high, you can understand this attack can generate a significant amount of masquerade or destruction in the network. Okay, then the same thing you can see here. Detection time. This is false alarm. If a false alarm is going to be rang, then what will happen, right? So this is you can see this dotted line. What I am highlighting with red is real attack curve. That is the ideal score value. And this is the predicted attack curve. So what is the problem here? Problem is that the attack happened at this point and finish at this point, but the detection was just say at this point the detection was happened, and the calling the prevention and all this thing is going to take this much time, right? This much time. That means what? Attack already been successful, and after that, your system is saying you are under attack. Understand? So this is another challenge for developing good intrusion detection systems. Then adoption and cost sensitivity. Many of you will say, why? We have visited many organizations, we have seen their networks, and we have never seen there is an intrusion detection systems. Yes, it is true. Many organizations are not having dedicated intrusion detection system. What is the reason? First, and no, both the thing we are discussing here. First thing is damage. The amount of damage to the target resource is associated with the ongoing attack and shows the amount of damage caused by an attack. When IDS does not operate. Understand? That means if I have IDS, say for installation of this IDS, I have invested 10 lakhs. Okay, and if I also found before doing this investment that if I don't have and if I really face an attack, whatever loss I'm going to make is only of 5 lakhs. Then what? Let the loss happen because I don't know when the loss will happen, right? It's again uncertain thing. So for the uncertain loss of 5 lakhs, why today I will invest 10 lakh? Okay. So this is something, the amount of damage cost compared with the installation cost. Okay. Now, this installation is not, the installation cost is not the only cost associated to this. There is other cost. Response cost. The cost of responding to an attack is the cost of responding in terms of resource that are required and the potential negative impacts on the response on legitimate network operations. Okay, that means okay, I have detected it, but do I have enough manpower, expert, other systems which can prevent me from the attack? Only testing is not going to save me from the attack. Okay, test, but after doing the test, it will say you are under attack. But if I don't have the immunity, and if I can't purchase the immunity, then no, the only test is not going to save the thing, right? Then operational cost, the cost of analyzing events using intrusion detection system, because if I install this system and it is a hardware every day 24 into 7, it will consume electricity, power, network bandwidth, right? And time to time maintenance. That is operational cost associated to this. That also we have to bear. Next comes consequential cost. What is this? If it gives false negative detection, then what will happen? False negative means there is a attack and it is saying no, it is not an attack. Understand? So what it is saying is false, right? Actually, it is happening, an attack. One attack is happening, but my intrusion detection system is is reporting this is not an attack. That means what is the report? That report is false, right? So this is called false negative detection. So due to this false negative detection, the organization may really fall into a severe attack and still can damage the resources and other equipments and things, right? And okay, so finally confidence matrix, so we know the confidence matrix related to the classifier, okay. Now properties of intrusion detection system effects and performance. So intrusion tolerance and attract resistance. So how much intrusion it should tolerate? That means there is many packets on the network which looks like, so behaves like intrusion, but actually they might not be a real intrusion, right? Like some user is downloading some file from a server, and maybe that server is not reliable, but that actually downloading of that particular file by the user is not going to going to initiate any attack to the network. Okay, so there should be, the intrusion detection system should be tolerant to such kind of downloads and communication, right? Then at the same time, it should be attack resistance also. So you can understand these two things are quite contradicting. Hmm? Tolerance, tolerance to intrusion, at the same time, attack resistance. So this thing is there. Then redundant and fault tolerance design, obstructing method, test, evaluation, and data set. So how we are testing the system, how we are evaluating the system, and what kind of data set you are using when you are developing the or training the system. All these things matters. Okay. Now here I can show you some available data set. If you really motivated by listening and my talk and this discussion, you can just go and search for these data sets. These are kind of benchmark data set. Okay, so for starting with developing your initial model, these data sets are quite good. Okay, first one is KDD CUF 99 data set. Why it is called name is like this? Because it was released by DARPA 98. Okay, so in the year of 99. Okay, so approximately you can see 4900,000 single packets are there, 41 features are there. Okay, and 300,000 samples with a total of 24 training attack types with an additional 14 attack types in the test data set. So this is a quite big and a good data set for start with. Okay, then there is what are the main highlights in KDD Cup 99 dataset? It have the data, data regarding denial of service attack, remote to local attack, user to root attack, and surveillance and probing attacks. Okay. Then benchmark dataset is another one that is called NSL KDD. That KDD 99 basically modified and cleaned, and some redundant rows was deleted, and it is somewhat normalized and standardized, which is called a benchmark NSL KDD dataset. Okay, so there is no redundant record in the training set, no duplication record, duplicate record. The number of selected records from each difficulty level is inversely proportional to the percentage of record in the original KDD dataset. So that proportion is maintained what was there in the KDD dataset, and number of records in training and testing sets is reasonable. Then there is another DARPA 20 100 or 2000 data set. So I'm not going to read it out. So this is another benchmark data set. Okay. Now, goals. What are the goals of intrusion detection and prevention system? So it create a record of relevant attack for follow-up. Okay, for future follow-up. Then determine flows in the network by detecting specific activities. So it can also detect if there is some flows in the network, that is some fault or some misconfiguration in the network. It can identify that. Okay, record unauthorized activity for use in forensics and criminal prosecution of intrusion attack. Then act as deterrent to malicious activity and increase accountability by linking activities of one individual across the system. Okay. So here are some of the references. You can see this is the reference from of our paper. Okay, and here is the reference Okay, from where the taxonomies are, taken. So these are things. So thank you. Uh, if you have anything to ask me, you can ask me because we have almost 10 minutes. So you can ask me anything. Okay. So at the same time, I have a request. I basically, due to our next, for our next research, we are doing a survey. Okay, it is having very few questions on cyber security. So, with your permission, I'm just sharing this link in the chat box. You can copy the link and you can respond to this. And this is totally anonymous, so you can respond to this survey. It is not going to record your name or any of your personal data. Okay. So anything you want to ask me, anybody?
Any query, please?
Okay, you can ask me any question and you can note down my email ID. It is here on the screen. You can take this email ID and you can communicate with me with your questions, later on also. You can use the chat box also to ask any question. You can type in the chat box if you have any question.
Participants, you may put your query in the chat box also.
Okay, then thank you everybody. Madam, I think there is no questions.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for the nice session. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah. If you have the recording, you can please share with me. Okay.
Okay, okay,
Sure,
sir,
Yeah.
definitely.
sure,
All right.
sir.
Thank you.